Call this meeting to order. Everybody stand, please. Pledge allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Righty. We have no agenda, right, Ms. Connie? So it's just a workshop. It's just a workshop, so there is no agenda and topic on the, I guess that would be the workshop for Gwynn Farm subdivision. So how we want to open this up? I mean, board, we're here tonight, so I mean, we called a workshop on, I guess, some of the things that came up, which was, what got us here, I guess, would be the traffic on 18. Kind of started the questions, I guess, and now we're here to discuss, I guess, and I don't know what kind of questions y'all got. I'm sure everybody's got their own questions, but we can kind of start down the line. I don't know who wants to open it up and discuss what, but
public first.
we can do, yeah. I mean, we can. So if we want to hear from the public first, we'll go ahead and. Do we have time limit on that? I mean,
Just don't go crazy.
yeah,
If
please.
you go crazy, we'll have to put time on it.
And if everybody, we know that they're all here for the one topic, so if we could get a couple speakers discussing it, we here to hear from everybody, but if whoever your main spokesperson maybe is.
Everybody here for the subdivision?
I don't think anybody's here for anything else, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so whoever would like to come up, if you take the podium, pull that podium out, Travis, if you would. You can stand at the podium, state your name. We got the recorder on. You state your name, so the recorder, and then you can proceed from there. So we'll kind of go ahead and open it up for public participation this time. So everybody jump at one time.
Somebody got started.
Yeah, somebody's got
Diane
started.
Bradley, and I live down the road off of 18 on Hawthorne. And so we're just wondering, traffic-wise, turn lanes, as far as the impact on schools, water. Of course, they're on wells right now, I guess, but I don't know if they'll eventually be city water or not, since they're in the city. If there's been studies for environmental studies on it, drainage, things like that. We're just curious if everything's kind of been looked at.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. We'll answer all that's probably going to come up. So, yes, it's coming. Yes, ma'am. It will be coming. So, anybody else? No. All right. At this time, we will close public participation. I know we heard from several the other night, so we'll bring it back to the board. So, board, any questions y'all have? I mean, I know.
Traffic study. We ended it 5 weeks ago that you guys were going to do a traffic study.
All right. Bill Kurtz, project manager for professional services. So let me preface the traffic discussion with the fact that the client has agreed to just go ahead and do a traffic study regardless. You guys did receive the updated traffic report that was sent out today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to kind of walk y'all through that to give you an idea of how we came about our conclusion, and more than likely EDA consultants came about theirs. So the issue raised by the Town of Fort White Town Council was Gwynn Farm subdivision traffic contribution to County Road 18. So we need to figure out what the items are to determine traffic capacity and impact. To do that, we need to figure out what's the allowed capacity for County Road 18. Who sets that capacity and how is it determined? What's the current capacity on County Road 18? What impact will wind farms have on County Road 18? What can also trigger a traffic study, and the conclusion. So the first answer to the first question is, what is the allowed capacity of County Road 18? And to kind of piggyback on that, who set that capacity and decided that? So checking Columbia County's comprehensive plan, part 2, the transportation element, County Road 18 from Fort White's town limits east to US 41 is classified as a major collector and has a level of service D, which is the amount of traffic that it's designed to handle. So if you check the DOT quality level of service handbook for a rural 2-lane highway, level of service D allows 14,000 annual average daily traffic. 14,000 vehicles per day is what that road can handle. So since we know that, we've got to figure out what's Wind Farms going to do to that. So, or excuse me, I got ahead of myself there. What is the current capacity of County Road 18? I then utilized the DOT District 2 historical averages, went to it, and the most recent traffic count they have is from 2021, and it was 2,800. I just put that on a chart, projected it out to 2023, and that takes us to 2,860 cars per day. And that's also utilizing data from 2017, projecting it outward. So the next question we got to answer is, what impact will Wind Farms have on County Road 18? And at the end of it, we're basically going to be sitting at 54.5 trips generated. I arrived at that because 109 lots are going to be on that subdivision. Of those 109, 50% of them are going to go to County Road 18, 50% of them are going to go out to Highway 27. Of that 50%, 54.5 vehicles are going to go to County Road 18. So that puts us at 20.42% of its rated capacity. What County Road 18 is designed to handle, it's at 20% of that right now. So once all phases are completed, we're going to be putting 24.16% onto County Road 18. So we're adding under 4% of County Road 18's rated capacity. With just phase 1 alone, we're bringing that up to 23.36%. So there's a little more than just how many vehicles we're putting on the road. There's other things that we have to look at what can trigger a traffic study. The big one is how far away you are from major driveway, turn lane, or intersection. And if you check on page 5, if you're less than 440 feet away from an arterial or a collector, well, your driveway is less than 440 feet from an arterial or collector, then you need to have a traffic study done. That proposed driveway on County Road 18 is 4,000 feet away. So the science behind this is you've got to be able to stage a certain amount of vehicles between your intersection and your driveway. We've got more than enough room to stage vehicles in there. Moving on, you can see the 9 warrant requirements for a traffic study. And I highlighted warrants 1 through 4 as to what's going to be required. If the intersection lies within a built-up area of an isolated community having a population of less than 10,000, the 70% volume threshold, or 70% factor, may be used for warrants 1, 2, and 3. So if we're at 70% of 14,000, that's when a traffic study is automatically required for your 8-hour volume, your 4-hour volume, your peak hour. And then warrant 4, if you have pedestrians in the area, that will trigger that. Of the remaining warrants, I put down here in red, for warrant 4, we don't have any pedestrians going by there. There's no school zones in there, so that doesn't trigger that one. There's no signals near the entrance, we don't trigger that warrant. Crash experience on County Road 18 was not readily available. Warrant 8, roadway network, which normally applies to interstates and big interchanges, doesn't apply. And warrant 9, intersection near grade crossing. We don't have any trains going past there. So the conclusion on all this is Wind Farm is going to increase County Road 18's capacity less than 4%. One of the ways to think of this, I kind of dug around and I equate a lot of things to vehicles. So as just a quick example, if you've purchased a 2024 Ford F-150, extended cab, 2-wheel drive, 3.5 liter EcoBoost, you check Ford's website, it has a towing capacity of exactly 14,000 pounds. So it's kind of convenient, works out in our discussion. If you decide you want to tow a 2022 Honda Civic, 2,877 pounds, which is pretty darn close to 2,860 pounds, you're using 20% of that truck's towing capacity. So let's say you decide to quit towing that Honda Civic and you want to bump up to a Honda Accord, 2022, same year model, 3,230 pounds. That's pretty darn close to the 3,381 that our traffic count's going to generate. You went from using 20% of that truck's towing capacity to 24% of that truck's towing capacity. Understandably, this is kind of an oversimplified way to look at a traffic study, but that's basically where we're at for this. In closing, we are going to go ahead and do the traffic study anyway. I don't want anybody on this board thinking we're just trying to get away with not doing something. At the end of the day, we design and play by Fort White's rules. Whatever you all have specified in your land development regulations, that's what we're going to design to. We're going to design to whatever Swanee River Water Management tells us to design to as far as the storms. Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or excuse me, Department of Health is going to handle the sewage. Florida DEP is going to handle the water that goes in there. I mean, understand we're here because of the traffic. Do you all have any other questions on this?
Commented 109.
109 lots, correct?
Okay, on this drawing here, I have 112. Did you lose 3?
Should be 109.
The retention ponds are numbers.
No, the lot number says 112 at the end.
I understand, but they counted retention ponds, there's 4 retention ponds. For some reason, they counted them as lots on that drawing. I caught that also.
What does the application say? Does it state that on the application for the site plan?
It's on your
Plan.
drawing that was attached. Shoot, I just have it here. There we go.
Oh, yeah, it's just counting three.
Okay, so it's added in there.
Yeah.
So that's what the lot number 109 is going to be, that one right there.
If the board wants me to, the individual who came up here with concerns about traffic, schools, water, environmental, I can answer those as well, if you all want me to.
Shoot away.
Traffic, turn lanes and everything, we just addressed that. Schools, we go by based on what the town of Fort White tells us to. There was no indication that we need to get any type of authorization from Columbia County School Board. Regardless of that, we can go ahead and submit a letter of recommendation from the superintendent if that is required. As far as the water, we permit that through DEP with a water main extension. They've already approved and sent that permit to us. The environmental and drainage aspect kind of goes together with Swanee River Water Management District. We permitted all that through them. We are in our second round of RAIs for them. All the ponds out there that you see have been designed to their standards and specifications. They handle that side of the permitting. So basically everything out there has been addressed. We've had the geotechnical investigation done that also what we design our ponds off of and tells us what type of soils we got out there. So any other questions concerning that?
What about EMS?
For EMS, is also going to fall on the town of Fort White. As long as there's access and they can get in and they can get out, they're normally good with it.
Fire hydrants, is that going in or not?
Correct. There should be 2 fire hydrants.
2. I'd say 2. 2 for 109 houses.
For the rural, you have to have a coverage of 500 square feet, or excuse me, a circumference of 500 feet. Let me double check the water plan to make sure I'm telling you correctly.
That don't sound right.
There's 2 on my block.
I was gonna say there's-
Now, along with that, are we going to go ahead and have utilities ran in this subdivision during site work to tie into the new system that's coming to Fort White? That way it's tapped at the road and not digging up what's already done, new roads, new houses, all that. So,
To answer your questions in order, if you have the set of plans in front of you that was brought the last meeting, do you guys? On sheet C69, our phase 1 water plan, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fire hydrants. Sorry about that. We basically put them anywhere we're there at the end of cul-de-sac, anywhere where a pump truck is going to be isolated and can't get to anything else, we put them there. And as far as the water goes, there's an existing water main on County Road 18 to the west that they're going to connect to, and once this entire system is routed, they're actually going to run one down Paisley Court, tie into that water connection, so you'll have a loop system with a little more resiliency as well.
That water line's already in.
Yes, it is. It dead ends right there at Paisley Court. There's even a fire hydrant at the very end.
And you said that's all gonna be looped?
Correct.
Okay.
So to get back to what Travis just said, you said that all the utilities are gonna be ran out to the road, sewage included?
Right now, we're just doing septic tanks. You have to have, half-acre lots require water to be piped in, but you can have a septic tank.
Understood.
Sure.
So you're gonna come back through there at a later time and dig all that back up to bring sewage? Sewage is not going there?
It's going in, it's just going on the opposite side of the road. One side of the road's got water, other side of the road's gonna have sewer lines.
Right, so at some point, you're gonna be going back in there and digging it up to bring sewage to all these homes?
When you say digging it up, are you talking about?
Bringing a sewage line?
Correct, yeah, we're putting a sewage line in, but I've left easement, or not easements, but construction easement along the road and the parcels to where they can put those sewage lines right in there. And anywhere they have to go under the road, they can do horizontal directional drilling.
So the sewage line isn't going in, why not?
It doesn't exist right now.
Right, but it's going to, it's in the plans. And why would you
No,
go in
there's
and?
no sewage line.
Not in your plans, in our plans?
No, in the,
Oh,
yeah, utility is coming, right?
It is,
Everybody
yes.
knows, y'all are drawing it, right?
Correct, yes.
So why wouldn't you go ahead and have it ran?
It doesn't make sense to put on these plans that something that isn't going to be coming into this subdivision. I mean, there's not really a good timeline to utilize that. We only know what we can build in the immediate future right now. Once that sewage line is running across County Road 18, this subdivision is going to connect to it. That's not a question.
So is it going to tie into 18 or to Paisley?
County Road 18.
Well, we'll be interested to see what the traffic study shows. That being said, when DOT gives you those numbers, 14,000 whatever, they take into account that road is a furrow through from 441 to 27 with stop signs at either one.
Correct.
That's all taken into account.
Yes, they take that into account, how much heavy traffic, like truck traffic goes in there, your clear zones, pavement design, all those warrants I mentioned earlier, if there's pedestrians, if there's railroads, anything like that, that all goes into how they rate that road to handle.
And their last study was when?
2021.
2021, okay. All right. So as of right now, there's no turn lanes at all going into the subdivision. There's no runoff, there's hard right-hand turn, hard left-hand turn.
Correct.
Interesting.
I thought there's a letter here somewhere that says 2017, the last traffic study.
I think that's all I have.
Well, that's my major
That
concern
was on his
with
first time
everything,
that he
Rocky,
discussed
just to be upfront, is, what 18 can hold. 18 is a concern, but it's not as big as concern as 18 tying into 27. Do you live here?
I live over close to Mayo.
Okay, so if you lived here, you know the trouble we have at 27 right now during busy hours. It can be up to a 5 to 8 minute wait trying to turn left and right. Being gracious. Once you come from 47 to 27, we got a racetrack right through here. And that's my biggest concern, not having a turn lane or a median in front of it to relieve some of that issues. Just to be upfront, that's my concern about it and for the citizens of town on the day-to-day living. If we could figure something out like that, I don't know what that entails, I don't know what the traffic studies, but we live here, you live here, Rock, it's, how bad this traffic can be at times, and, there's not much here, but when you got to get somewhere, you got to get somewhere.
So,
And that's kind of my hold up with this, and, tying into Paisley Court, which is a great idea, but if there was a way to tie into one of the other additional roads over there, that's going to relieve a lot more stress off of 18 as well. I don't know how that works. I'm not an engineer, so, I don't know what the options are. I'm sure y'all have looked into this or going to look into it, whatever it may be. But that is my concern, living here as a citizen, because the interior roads here are very small. You know, and they're in bad shape. You know, we get grants, county helps us out, what have you. Once you know, just common sense speaking, once you pack out our main highways, our main roads, county roads, state roads, whatever, where's it going to go? It's like deer hunting. The deer is going to take the least path of resistance to get somewhere, to the water hole. You know, that's what I'm concerned with. You know, if we're 2021 with this much traffic here now, with the study, I don't have the numbers. Maybe I should have, but I know the population has grown, you know, not only in town, but just say a 10-mile radius from the center of Fort White. You know, if you live Tussanoogie before Tommy Lights Road, you come to Fort White, to the dollar store, you come to the gas station, you come for whatever, your day-to-days. That's my concern.
Okay.
Just to voice those out for everyone here, you know, the board, whoever. And I would like that to be taken into consideration, not trying to get in anybody's pocket, trying to be having a hard time, whatever. I want to bring it back to the common sense.
So that traffic study that we're going to have done, it's going to be a transportation engineer that conducts it. He's going to get a report that quantifies everything on it. He's going to set his counter out there on 18. He's going to count it. You're going to see your peak hours. You're going to see when you have the highest traffic, all the stuff generated. You're going to see how much storage you have right there on County Road 18. On the end of that driveway, how many vehicles can be going on County Road 18 to US 27 before it backs up, and what's the amount of time it's going to back up.
Okay.
It's a rather exhaustive report. It's designed specifically for things like this. Once you all get that, any question you've got on this is going to be answered in that. And as far as connecting to any of the other smaller roads right there, Paisley Court is the only one that actually connects to the property. The rest of them have cul-de-sacs with privately owned pieces of property behind them. So there was just no real way, realistically, without buying somebody else's land and then putting a road through that would work.
So you're saying those houses in Hollingsworth Estate or the other, what is it, Fort White?
Fort White Park.
Fort White Park, those don't tie into that property at all?
No, sir. There's
Are the houses in there, they own into the road, into where? Because from what I've seen, it looked like it all tied together.
They own to the center of the cul-de-sacs.
To the center of the cul-de-sac?
Property right there, to the center of the cul-de-sac.
And then where does that property tie into that cul-de-sac? It don't? So there's just a blank piece of property nobody owns?
No, it's owned. Here, let me get you to take a look at the plans here, make sure we're on the same page. Are you talking about this road right here? There's another one that ties in right there. 'Cause that's Blue Jay.
Yeah, Blue Jay. And then the Hollingsworth Estate comes in somewhere right in here.
Yeah, Hollingsworth, the road comes in, and there's actually people's houses right here on this side, or privately owned property.
They butt up to the property, but the road is property between the end of the road and the property owner.
So you're saying this right here is owned by y'all?
No, sir. Somebody else owns this, somebody else owns this. This is the only path that directly connects to this piece of property. You can see where this cul-de-sac ends. This little chunk right here is basically another parcel. Pick that up a second.
I'll pay for that.
But this is right here is basically somebody's parcel.
Sure.
Same with this one, and then on this
Right,
side.
but there's easements.
There is easements, but we would still actually have to purchase all of this right here to bring that in there.
Well, the same thing with here though, because this right here, you know, I know all these pieces here. This road, how it ties in though, I mean, are y'all gonna widen, is this road being widened?
No, we're gonna keep the same width. It's gonna connect directly to it.
Small road too.
I know where I am. What would be the process to, like I was saying, you know, how would that work? Because I think once this subdivision is approved and happens, we're going to get the means to get a light right there at 27. right? That's gonna give us enough study to eventually push it where we'll get a signal light there,
Or roundabout, would be great.
or around,
I can't,
well, the people can't drive good enough around here anyways. But how would that affect if, you know, with this subdivision future-wise, if there was a signal light put at 18 and 27, and then the distance, I don't have that number either.
4,000 feet.
4,000 feet from 47 to 27?
Oh, no, sorry.
That's the number I'm thinking of. So if we put a light at 27 and the light at 47 right now, what could that potentially cause? Because that's not a very long distance.
I genuinely couldn't give you an answer on that.
It's something you can look into though. I mean, just,
DOT is very, very number specific. They have to see X amount of traffic generated on that road and X amount of issues before they even think about putting a signal or anything on this. I can look into it.
Why would they care so much? They don't have to pay for the electricity or the maintenance for it, do they? Or am I wrong? I am
Yeah,
wrong?
if anybody puts anything on 27, with it being a state highway, it's going to be DOT directly.
I understand that, but who pays electricity for it? Who maintains it? They don't.
No, they maintain.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the state highways. All right, so Travis, just to make sure, you're asking if they put a traffic light in from 27 to 47. Explain that to me again.
the distance between them, what could that cause as backing up traffic wise
On 27.
on 27 and or 47? I mean, I'm just trying to think of a good way or not. I don't know if it'd be a good idea to have a light at 27. It would help getting in and out.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got a couple thousand feet right there. If that much, you know, it won't take that many cars to back that up and,
I was told a long time ago now, been a while, that it's on that curve, and it's hard to put a red light on that curve.
Right.
Or you're gonna have people running it when they go around that curve,
Yeah.
and have full light. That's one of the things they look at.
well, and I know that, and that was one of my points of helping if we put a turn lane and a median there in front of that subdivision main entrance to relieve that, because when cars come around that curve, you got 3 seconds to make your mind up if you're going at that stop sign or not. And if you're going, you better go. Especially with these semis running through here and through the interior roads at the same time as well.
Now, just to clarify, I've only got the traffic study lined up for the connection on County Road 18. We weren't doing anything for the connection on Paisley Court out to 27. So, I mean, is the board still good with us getting just the traffic study on County Road 18 and moving forward with this? Because all
I
this
think
is
if we're gonna do it, we should do it all. That's my opinion. That's all I have for you, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just sitting there making notes. We talked last time you were here. Please understand, I think the concern of the board is, we've never done a subdivision of this size. So it's kind of alarmed everybody to the point where, like, what is all, there keeps coming questions of it. And I'm sure we're not going to cover it all tonight. In the next couple of weeks, and something else is going to pop up. And I know, me and you discussed the flood zone the last time you were here. You told me that they gave you reports back. I thought I brought the piece of paper with me, but I pulled it. I think it's off of Swanee Water Management. There is flood zones in that area that you're talking about building houses. I've got it. The new report has come out. It's got my subdivision in it. When I purchased my house was not in a flood zone. Now they're saying that it is. On the new report, it is showing that it is a flood zone. So my concern now is, if it is in a flood zone, and we build houses there, where's that water going? I know you have retention pond, but where's the extra water going to? Because I've heard horror stories, Miami, Jacksonville, I'm sure Lake City's got some where water, they built subdivisions by another subdivision and that water was pushed off into other subdivisions.
So anytime you permit something with Swanee River Water Management District, you have to look at any type of fill in the floodplain or wetland mitigation. As of right now, we have neither of those. Our design, every single lot, finished floor elevation has to be 1 foot above the center line of that road. Each house that is built out there drains to those roadside swales. Those roadside swales then convey that water to the ponds. We've got close to in excess of 20 acres worth of ponds out there to store and treat that storm water. As of right now, with the Swanee River Water Management District, we're using the old flood maps to design this based on. Because for us to start with the old maps and then transition to the new maps in the middle of this would completely throw this design out the window.
So you do agree there is new maps out now showing that there
There's
is
new
flood
maps,
zones?
and we've actually sent numerous amounts of material in to get those maps changed, because they're putting most all of Fort White in a flood zone. So, and most of the folks here are going to end up paying significantly more homeowners insurance
I agree.
if those maps were passed.
Right.
So we've taken a bunch of our material for, was it Fort White Elementary School, the high school, this subdivision, and submitted it to them as information contrary to them designating this as a flood zone.
Right.
No, those maps are not in effect right now.
No.
No, they're not in effect, but they published them for a reason. So that's my question: is why? I mean, I've already got hit with them because I'm a homeowner in that flood zone area, so I know that I might have to carry flood zone insurance now if they approve them. And I know they're not.
Actively pushing against that, specifically in the Fort White area, because combination of the soil type in this area and the relative elevation, it's not a flood zone. It's a very broad report that the Water Management District has submitted along with FEMA, and a lot of it is just a blanket statement over the state of Florida, and they're trying to fine tune some of it, and that's where we're pushing back on some of it.
When would you have an answer to that then?
No idea. That's 100%.
So if they don't change it, then worst case scenario, then what happens?
I'm not really clear on what you're asking about.
So if they're going to designate it a flood zone and then we put all these roads and houses in there, would your retention ponds, would it be accurate to withstand that?
Correct. Yes, it would.
Okay. That would be my question of the surrounding areas, because I've seen the map as well, looking at some property the other day. Right now it looks great, but when I use that new map, I don't want to have to pay flood insurance, so, therefore I'm not going to buy that property.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if the new maps were out, you would not have to change your construction at all?
Correct. For what it's worth, Swanee River Water Management District has some of the most onerous design standards. Any other district in the state, you design to a 24-hour storm event. Swanee River does a 240-hour storm event, basically a 10-day storm event instead of a 1-day storm event. So you're having to treat and hold a lot more water than anywhere else in the state.
You're the civil engineer? That's your position? Okay. Who's going to do the traffic studies? Is it going to be your firm, or are you outsourcing it?
No, it was a firm out of Jacksonville that we're going to have to do it for us.
Do you have their name?
Hold on 1 second. It's going to be Jeff Buckholz with Buckholz Traffic.
Okay.
Jeff Buckle, you see what you're saying?
Yes,
Have y'all used them before?
we have. All right, y'all got any more questions for me?
Yeah, hold on, I'm trying to get to it. I know in the last meeting also, we voted on doing away with sidewalks. I got to thinking about after we did that. I live in a small subdivision right now, and we already have people walking up and down the roads and stuff at night. With a subdivision of that large, with 109 houses, do you see subdivisions like that without sidewalks in it?
The ones right next to it.
That's not 109 houses, that's the house, that's the subdivision I live in. That's 20 houses maybe.
There's, with them being half-acre lots, you're kind of getting into the territory of not really needing sidewalks on those just because they're so spread out. Once you're in quarter-acre lots and lower than that, then some of your urban planning comes into play. Then you start putting your sidewalks, your curb and gutter in. We wanted to just mirror what's out there and not put the sidewalks in. That's why we had that done.
So what does the lot size have to do with the sidewalks and curb?
You're basically going to have more units inside of there, closer together. Oftentimes, subdivisions with more units in there are going to be closer to the city center or closer to city limits. With that one being pretty far away from downtown Fort White, putting sidewalks in there with nothing else to get us from Fort White out there just didn't make sense.
Got the walk path.
The walking path,
Yeah, there's people who use that lane from all over, believe me.
What about lighting? Sorry, not to
No,
interrupt.
you're good.
we weren't putting it in.
No street lighting, 109 houses in the woods.
And this might be a question for the builder, I don't know, it might be you probably won't be able to answer this, but size of houses. Do we have an idea, or is it, they can go from 400 square foot to 10,000 square foot, or is there a
It is going to be builder specific, whoever buys that lot. More than likely, we average everything to be around 4,000 square feet. That's house, garage, everything out there.
So are these lots going to be individually sold?
It's also going to fall on whatever the town of Fort White requires for how many square feet is
6, right?
allowed per
100 square
lot.
foot.
Because you're not going to be able to build 21,000 square feet on a half-acre lot and cover the entire thing with a house.
So there's going to be no HOA, anything, it's just going to be county guidelines or town guidelines for the structures?
Correct. Yeah, whatever town of Fort White tells people they can build out there, that's what they're going to build.
And you said these are going to be individually sold lots for owner, builder, or whatever?
However they wish to be sold. Am I saying that right, Rocky?
They're gonna be individual houses.
So you're selling the lots?
Yeah, all the lots will be sold, some probably sold.
Well, I didn't know if you was planning on building each one, or you're telling me how.
Probably not all of them, no.
Yeah. Selling individual lots. With no restrictions, we can build whatever town specs, single wide, I guess trailers are back involved in town, right? If I understand right, last year y'all, mobile homes are now allowed back in the city limits, correct?
There won't be any mobile homes, it'll be all site built houses,
How do you stop that from happening?
because it'll be in the subdivision.
should be?
Be a deed restriction.
Deed restriction.
Okay, so it needs to be-
You wanna go with me?
No. No, I don't go with you.
Sorry.
Any more questions? for-
No, I'm just jumping in with you whenever I think of something on your topic.
Trying to- That's what I mean, I've just been writing questions down as we go, so.
So no HOA, Fort White's, town of Fort White's gonna maintain,
Town of Fort White's not going to maintain anything. Rocky, I'm going to default to you on this one on ownership and maintenance for the subdivision. Can you give them the rundown on O&M?
Oh, for the subdivision?
Correct.
As far as I know, we had talked about before, I've been discussing with the county, but the county basically is, the way we do it in the county, once it's 50% built out, that the county takes over the O&M of the subdivision.
County ownership and maintenance.
when my one. Where was I at for that one?
Mr. Mayor, it's a little more complicated.
Good evening. That's the part I want to drive on. As y'all indicated, y'all haven't done this in a long time, right? I heard 1993 was the last time subdivision was put down for wide. So the benefit that the town would have if the county is involved in this process is multi. First of all, when the contractors go in to construct the roads, the ponds, infrastructure, pipes, all that stuff, we have staff that goes and validates what we call quality control, quality assurance. We make sure they do it right, okay? Why do we do that? We don't want the others to get their money, the engineers get their money, and everybody get their money and get out. And then in a hot minute, the county has to come in and right all the wrongs, okay? So we're going through a transitional period right now, what we call an MSBU, where it's a separate taxing authority to make every subdivision. The people that opt to buy in those subdivisions are taxed independently to capture the cost of that maintenance and replacement 20 years later when they pave the roads. We are in a transitional phase. What we do today is once the homes are 50%, like what I hear, 110 lots?
109.
Okay, whatever. So when 55 homes are built out, the developer reaches out and says, county, we all take this over for O&M, right? We go in with a checklist and we validate that everything as built surveys, et cetera, is what's there, what's supposed to be there, is it there? If it's not, we say, if you want us to take it over, you have to correct these deficiencies, right? And then we go in and take it over from that point forward. We had a conversation with Connie the other day, and Connie's well aware of how most of this works. She did a long time with me. That is a very laborious task. It's a very costly task. We do them all over the place. So I would strongly recommend consideration. If you want the county involved, it needs to be in the front end. So all this stuff, the QC, the QA, and then the validation, at which time somebody needs to take it over. Because history repeats itself, and if you don't have that plan in place, somebody later on down the road who's going to get tasked with a very costly infrastructure improvement, including some repayment of it. Okay, so we do have check measures in place that say it's built right and what we do when we do it. So just, I would recommend this board take consideration of that as y'all move forward. Does that make any sense?
Why wouldn't it not be in the best interest to make it an HOA and make those homeowners maintain and control it? What's in it for the county to want to take on such a big task? And second part of that question is, how many subdivisions have y'all done here before? All of them that's here? Or none?
So, Travis, for example, our retention pond, the only retention pond in Fort White, I secured the ground before I constructed it, and I maintained it. I don't put the grass, but the sinkhole, we just do that. I brought a list of work orders that you and I briefly had a conversation about. We do a lot in the town of Fort White, okay? And we're good with that. We're absolutely good with that. Homeowners Association defunct. We've learned that lesson, and there's no ramifications for it. Right? So homeowners, it sounds good, but then one day, they just disappear. And that's what we've experienced through the years in Columbia County, that all of a sudden the neighbors are out there, the streets falling apart, the roads, the ditches are closed up, detention ponds aren't functioning. County, y'all need to come out here and do this. Well, you've got HOA, well, it went fun. And that's what happens with HOAs. That's why I mentioned we're going through the transitional period, what we call MSBUs, right? So now we're actually doing this right now. Where we're going through and identifying X amount of ponds, X amount of cross drains, side drains, aprons, mainline roadway. What does that cost? What's the longevity of it? You put cost measures on regular repair and maintenance and then replacement values, not repayment. So if that works out to be, $100,000 over 20 years, there's X amount of home, you divide that and you capture that with a separate taxing authority. And that's something brand new we're doing right now. because we have identified how much it costs us to go in there in all these subdivisions. We got hundreds of them. And it's real high number.
So back to the cost of it though, how will we're gonna implement more taxes to pay the county to maintain that?
This is it, you're in the transitional phase, right?
Right.
If you were to ask me 6 months ago, that doesn't exist.
Right.
It does right now. So kind of like he was talking about the design phase, and Dalton, to help you out, there's a kind of bouncing on you. There's a little creature called an ERB out there, an Environmental Resource Permit, right? And all that stuff he was talking to y'all about, that is captured by that permit, Environmental Resource Permit. Like and similar, we just experienced a terrible situation up in Lake City. We're learning as we go. We've always required as-built, for example, okay? There's a lot of difference between an as-built and an as-built survey, right? We had a subdivision that was built, constructed, built out, we took it over. Well, an as-built means you go take the set of plans and you validate what's on these plans, what's on there, and you do it with your eyes. There's no way for anybody to look at the road and say, well, it's a foot low, right? So we're adding things like as-built surveys, so the developer has to come in with an as-built survey, post-construction, to validate this one on the plans.
So the elevations were not on there previously?
Well, once again, the developer built it. Everybody said, good job, because back then, all required was as-built. We took the plans and, well, it looks right.
Yeah.
Well, your naked eye can't see that road a foot too low, right? But then also we had some issues, and sure enough, it was built a foot too low.
Yeah.
And as far as the traffic study, the owner, we gotta have an unwritten rule. We talk about it, anything 50 homes or above in one subdivision, we gotta expect a traffic study.
Sure.
So they understood that, and they do a very detailed job. We got a potential 300 door development going in right now, right across the ball fields on Basket Doors, main entrance, 300 doors. So absolutely no traffic study.
Between the church and the ball field?
Directly across the main entrance of the ball field, right there.
In the woods. It's all woods now, right?
Yes, sir. So, but that, I like to put your mind at ease. The traffic study will address every concern you remotely have as it relates to it. It's very important to us too.
Now, if it comes in where there's turn lanes, that's gonna be on the county for County Road 18.
When you
In
say
front of
being
the
county-
entrance. Being a County Road 18, if we run into an error or issue later on with too much traffic and decide to put in a median and a turn lane.
That's the purpose of the study.
Right.
What the county does not want to be is on the hook for those improvements for said development.
Right.
Right? So you get the traffic study. If the traffic study indicates you have to have turn lanes, that's on the developer.
Yeah.
He's got to go and put all that in. If it comes back and says, you're good to go, then he's good to go.
I'd like to learn more about this, from you, the subdivisions and all, and as partners, it'd be something great for us to be involved in, to learn these things, as we talked about before, like to see the town of Fort White being more involved in the growth of it and learning these as you go,
Sure.
with your, things you're finding out now to the things today. Would be great, and this isn't gonna be the last subdivision that comes to Fort White.
Well, like I say, we went through so much in the very recent past, as it's, or at least going fast, that we created an index 3 months ago. And I explained to the Board of County Commissioners that would be a working document that we would amend it on an annual basis. And I don't think it's been out 3 months. I've already found 2 things I want to add to it.
Right.
Because I don't think it's by design, but when developers go in and do their thing, there's always problems afterwards. There will be problems. There always is. Right? But it's going to grow. But biggest thing I'd like to leave y'all with, I'll ask what y'all need to do, but I would really consider that O&M of that subdivision, right? We're not trying to be bulls in China closet or none of that. It'd be 1,000%. It kind of went over my head when I was first asked. I didn't really think about it being in the city limits.
Well, what was the point, not to interrupt you, what's the point of annexing it into the city limits if the county's gonna take it over?
I completely understand that question. Like I say, I just wasn't paying attention to the annexation of it to begin with.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what I hope does not happen is unless the town is willing to commit the resources, QC, QA, so forth and so on, if you're just gonna let the contractors go out there and build it, we learned a long time ago that doesn't work.
Well, you can see we're not gonna do that.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there's a lot to it. I'll be happy to help y'all with anything in the world.
Well, down to, what does, I guess at the end of the day, what does Fort White get out of this deal? If financially, where are we at? Because now it seems like the county's going to take control of the subdivision, which I still don't understand, and see another tax coming to the citizens of Fort White, which,
By no means do we want to do that. What I'm cautioning on is 10 years down the line, when there's all kind of problems, and I might be completely mistaken here, do y'all have the means and methods to take care of those problems?
I hope we will. Honestly, I hope we will, is where I would like to see the direction of this town go. However, I'm one guy,
Sure.
speaking. As partners though, as we are, we would look for the guidance to, get there and to help and be the partners like we keep saying we are. And work together, this is a great place. I'm born and raised right here. I love it dearly. And I want it to, be a good controlled growth. I'd hate to see Highway 90 west right here. It'd break my heart.
Sure.
Well, the thing here is too, is we've got to get this one right. 'Cause there's more coming, a lot more coming.
Absolutely.
We know that. So we mess around on this one and don't get this one right, then the rest of them is going to fall in the same spots. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. And and like I said, you will leave this meeting and 4 other questions will pop
Sure.
up that we didn't think about in this meeting. So.
Well, and then if we allow this to go like this and then the next one comes in, we've got to have a,
Template.
Well, here's
Like
the
I was saying.
I mean, that draws another question. Is the county going to take the next subdivision over too?
Mr. Mayor, once again, when I first got asked about this, there was a series of emails coming between North Florida and myself and all this, and somebody asked, given us the transition period change, does these fall under the old criteria without MSBU, with MSBU? Connie, I think you read on that email chain. And, I responded back, we're in a transition period, and then at some point, somebody pointed out, oh, this is the city of Fort White. Whoa, that's the towns. Well, then a lot of people started asking questions, all of what we're discussing right here today. So, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, obviously, if y'all are jumping in there, you're going to annex, and you're going to build more subdivisions, that's y'all's call. I just wanted to come up here, obviously, you don't want us in there if you can handle it. I just thought I was obligated to mention just what all was involved in the handling of it.
I guess my question is not that we can or can't. What the question is that when we get proposed with another subdivision, are we going to be able to go, hey, that's okay, because the county's going to come in and take that over? We're good. We're good.
Well, let me answer like this. If a subdivision gets built in Mason City, Columbia City, Ellisville, we do the exact process. The uniqueness by this is a town, it's a governing body.
Right.
Woodboro.
Sorry.
With Woodboro. Our Woodboro is not a town.
That isn't it.
So so you're saying that's normal procedure?
If you go out towards Tuscaloosa Road on 18,
Right.
and build a subdivision, and you're not the town limits, absolutely, the county takes over. Yes, sir.
Right. But I'm saying if we do it, say if this town comes in, if we have one that butts up in the town, or kind of like Mr. Ford's situation here, if say one comes up and it butts back up to the town, we can count on the county to do the same thing we're doing on this one?
If it's within your limits,
Right.
it is yours.
I understand that.
Right.
Well, this is in with our limits.
why,
So
wasn't we? If
I
this
think I
one's
can-
in our limits,
I think I can explain.
I'm confused here. This is in our limits.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
that's why we're trying to figure out what the county's interest here is. If you're saying, if we go outside the city limits to the county, y'all are strictly 100%, but if it's inside the city limits, it's ours.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So let me clarify. This is in the city limits, or the town limits.
Right.
This is your subdivision, not the county's.
Yes.
You are in complete control of that. So if you were to have us maintain it, we would have to have an interlocal agreement with the town
Right.
dictating the terms of it.
Where was the invitation? I guess is what you're saying.
Well, I just
wasn't
want to
aware.
know that, I'm just trying to figure out, if
So, I
we
mean,
do it on
ultimately-
this one, can we do it on another? Or if we have
That would
another
be your
situation
decision.
like this falls in place, are we going to be good to say, we know the county's going to do the same thing for this subdivision they did for this subdivision?
Are you
We're good.
willing?
That would be
Are you
your
willing?
decision with the interlocal agreement that you set with us that determines the limits. Ultimately, it's in the town limits, so you would have to allow us to do it. We can't just come in here and say, we're
Right.
taking over, we're going to do it.
We're offering
The
that
town would have
option.
to allow us.
That's what he's asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Would you offer that option if we did another
Yes.
one?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
That's what he's asking.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the
That's
point of the
all.
MSBU is because we have discovered homeowners associations disappear, they break up.
Right.
They got it.
And I
And
believe
MSBU
that.
basically says, for those people that benefit from this improvement, they have to pay for that improvement. So it's not like you're taxing the whole town to pay for streetlights or road improvements or stormwater. The only people paying for those improvements are the people that benefit directly from or live in the subdivision. So you're really creating a separate taxing unit just for the subdivision to pay for its improvements. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're going to create that taxing unit, or y'all going to create that taxing unit?
I think.
That would be the attorneys telling us how we set it up in the interlocal agreement.
Right.
I'm not going to
Right.
pretend to be an attorney.
Right.
I'll leave that to the attorneys. But somebody would have to, kind of like you did the assessment for garbage.
Solid waste.
Same process, the exact same process. So, like Kevin was saying, there are some subdivisions in the county that have said, we want streetlights. So we went out and we figured out who would benefit from the streetlights, how much would it cost to put in the streetlights. And every year we adopt an assessment ordinance. And that assessment ordinance says, for the next year, this is how much we're going to assess to pay for the costs that benefit that subdivision. So every year, this would be on an agenda, because every year you have to adopt these assessment ordinances. So it's not like you set it and forget it, it's an annual thing. But ultimately, it's in the town, it's your zoning, it's your land use regulations. You still have control of the subdivision.
And when you say tax, is there a percentage that that y'all need to, we need to set in that subdivision to?
Basically, you would figure out the cost needed to provide the improvements, and then apportion it according to each property's benefit. So it's actually a study that's done.
We're putting together we've already done it, a schedule of values. You know, what's an 18-inch pipe, what's longevity, what's a 24-inch pipe, what's a foot of asphalt worth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever that math works out, once again, only the folks that build in that subdivision, right? For lack of a better number, it's $100 for 100 houses, that's $1 a year.
Right.
Right, just to make simple math. But the thought process is folks like me that opt to live out of the country, right? Why do I want to pay all those taxes to redo the subdivision or maintain it when I opt to live out, know the conveniences, live in the country?
Right.
So as you said, if there's the next subdivision, you would have to do a completely separate assessment for that next subdivision.
Right.
Each one would be independent.
Right.
Also, it's based on the life expectancy of the particular improvements. In other words, you have this big drainage facility here with outfalls and inlets and this and that and whatever. They know what it costs today, okay? There's going to be an inflationary figure added in there and a life expectancy figure. And then they'll arrive at a fee based on the life expectancy of X number of dollars per year, and then that gets divided per the number of houses for that particular thing. Roads would be another thing. And then it all gets added up to one figure for per lot.
So if 6 months from now, the subdivision, or a year from now, the subdivision comes back to the town and says, we really want some streetlights.
you could do an assessment for streetlights in that subdivision. Absolutely. And it would be paid for by the people in that subdivision that would be getting the streetlights. But again, it gets revisited every single year. You can't adopt this for a long period. It's an annual assessment.
We have to do our garbage assessment every year. too.
Right, same.
Exact same process. But again, the town is still in the driver's seat because it is in the town limits.
And Mr. Mayor, we're just want to throw the option out there. And I think nobody on Board of County Commissioners would ever say, not this subdivision. You know, it's kind of one of those things, it's what we do. If y'all opt to, as you indicated, Travis, you know, y'all hope y'all are in a position to take care of it. That's completely another thought process that might be better.
Right. So these interlocals are only for a period of time, or is this a lifetime commitment to you?
It's not a lifetime
You do it
commitment.
every year.
No.
Every year you can revisit those interlocals. And again, I don't want to speak for the attorneys, I'll let them speak for themselves.
Only speak when I'm told to.
Well, and as I was under the assumption that the county was already planning on taking over this subdivision.
We never even thought about it, to be honest. It didn't dawn on us. And then suddenly the issue came up, it's like, oh,
We just never thought about it,
Right.
because where it's at. You know, kind of really didn't, was just another subdivision going in. It was in its limits.
Right.
Yeah, we just never really thought about it until it got real close.
so realistically, if you don't let us do it, we can't do it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because it's in your town.
Well, we all know that's not an option right now.
But like you said, over time, things can
Yeah.
change.
And we have other interlocals with you guys as we speak.
Sure, of course.
Again, I'm trying to lay out a blueprint in my mind of a good subdivision, and I guess that's my biggest hang up here. And the road thing, the road study thing is, because I can tell you right now, without that subdivision going in there, man, it's that 18 is a mess right now. It's still like that. I don't care if they said there was 30,000 cars gonna be on that road in a day. They don't sit at the damn stop sign down there like I do trying to get out. There's going to be a killing down there one day because somebody's going to sit down mad trying to get out. They're going to hurt somebody.
Mr. Mayor, I want y'all to take some advice on this traffic light. We are currently getting ready to study all of Columbia County's dangerous intersections with base load fatalities.
Right.
That's where we're getting started. The Department of Transportation has a very unique way of looking at the need of traffic signals. You take Columbia City, for example. You take Bradford Highway 247, 240. They say that signals are warranted there at those intersections, right? I just don't want any false hope that anytime soon there's going to be a signal.
Oh, yeah, well, I know. I mean, I know. And that's just the bad thing about it is that it's so bad already now.
Sure.
We know it's going to get worse. And it's just, it's absolutely, it's hard to get out of there in the afternoon time.
And just for the town's knowledge, they will perform a traffic study.
Right.
We just went with another developer up there, Baskin Robbins. Because it is County Road 18, even though this subdivision is the town's ownership as we speak today, 18 is the county's ownership. We were going to do this traffic study also, and if we have any concerns, we hire an independent consultant also to validate, not this firm, but another firm, a 300-door unit. They came back with a study that we simply disputed, right? So we hired an independent consultant to go in and we're negotiating that out. So we'll take the study very seriously, meaning the county, because it is County Road 18, if for no other reason, we don't want to go in there a year later and get hit with $500,000 worth of improvements because it's not working.
Gotcha.
But, Travis, the reason I indicated the O&M, we had a meeting, and it's not out of disrespect to this board, when this all started, David and I had a meeting with Connie. I said, you know, Connie, it's very important, because we knew this was the first time in a long time y'all done it. It's very important that the town knows that we are willing to take the O&M if y'all so choose. If you don't,
Yeah, I had no idea about that being done, those meetings or anything else. This is the first I heard of county coming in and offering the help, which
Yes,
is appreciated.
Sure.
However, you know, it sounds like it was already, in my opinion, a plan to be done. And
Those-
I don't want to make it any kind of disrespectful way or not, but just sitting here listening,
No, sir.
You know, and you know, I don't know, yeah.
We asked Connie, we need to bring it up. Of course, we pulled off the agenda on that. We need to bring it up and talk about it, just to make sure the county is offering that option.
Right.
We got plenty of them. Y'all don't want us down here, we're good.
Well, is this something that y'all need to bring before y'all's board?
Sure, sure. But once again, the interlocal would have to exist, right?
Right.
Both boards would have to concur. But I have no problem explaining to my board, look, Fort White's growing leaps and bounds. Right now, they do not have the equipment and the staff to jump on something like this, if you so choose. And I don't think nobody in the world on our side of things would have a problem with that.
Can I ask you a question? What's the benefit to the county to take over this development?
There are
Well,
farmers.
these guys
I can
collect
answer
their
that.
taxes.
There are
Let me ask
farmers.
you,
We maintain County Road 18.
So,
And we also collect all the taxes for Town of Fort White. Town of Fort White don't collect any property tax.
well, they may soon.
Well, and that's
They
a
may,
question
but I
there
think it's right
further
now.
down the line as well that I have.
But let me echo what Commissioner Ford just said, right? So that's the way to put it. You're going to have Columbia County and taxpayers living in a subdivision that if history repeats itself, the homeowner association will go fund, right? And then they're going to expect the same services as the subdivision right up the road on Tuscany Road, where the next is, right?
Yes.
Sir,
Right now, we have roads and disrepair all over the county because of homeowner association.
correct.
All these blue sign private roads you see, I have several of them in my district. We can't go in there and work on their roads because we don't own those roads.
Right.
All those roads were set up for homeowner association. 99% of them have went defunct, nobody does anything to the road, none of the people pay for the roads. So they're trying to drive down dirt roads or the paths that basically you can't get a fire truck down, an ambulance, anything else. And we can't go in there and fix the roads.
Well, if you take, instead of Columbia County's HOAs and you go to Ocala or Gainesville, those HOAs work.
But that's why we're doing the MSPU, because that's what all the counties bigger than us are doing. So I've never studied that side of it, but there's a reason that all of your bigger towns have already went to the MSPU process. And I got to logically assume they experienced this years ago before we did.
Right. But with the HOA and living inside there, you pay a fee
Correct.
for that, and then you have a board. So
That just disappears.
it just stops.
It just stops.
Well, then why is that not on them then to figure it out?
Well, it becomes on them.
And then they don't, that's what Rocky's saying, is you take all the blue side roads. It all start off with HOAs, everybody pulls their money together, they hire an independent contractor to come grade it once in a while, fix bad spots, well, then it just goes away. Well, then they're just looking at each other going, well, what do we do now? County, can y'all come in and help us? We got 250 roughly miles of that left in Columbia County, but unfortunately about 65% of it's in his district. And that's why we've created private road assessment programs, different options where they pay us to go in and do it. And that circles full back to what we talked about this subdivision. You know, if the town does desire for the county to help with the O&M of this, I would just prefer to be on the very front end of it, or work with the QC, QA, making sure it's built right. What we don't want to get is the rear.
QC and QA would be up to the county building department, right?
Not the roads.
No, sir. That's building houses. No, sir. If you don't do it the way I'm talking about doing it, you'll get a simple report, right? That'll say, look, this was all done right, densities, et cetera, and you're gonna leave it up on multiple different disciplines of contractors.
But that comes into the engineer, right?
He's a design engineer. He's not doing QC, QA.
So he's not going to be out there when they're building the road. Kevin-
So anybody, I bought that property, I could build me a road through there and whatever happens, happens. Nobody's gonna,
That's why.
nobody's gonna inspect it
Correct.
at all.
Okay, to validate that, in Columbia County, that's why we started doing QC and QA. We learned that that doesn't work. Right? That's the way it used to work, you're correct. The contractors went out there, oh, they provided you the little digital reports and this and that, but there was no eyeballs looking at it, right? That's why you go around Columbia County, these 25-year-old subdivisions, there's all kind of dips in the road, but somebody just indicated they were out there redoing it. we said, look, we'll spend the money front end. I'm fixing to hire another guy on staff. I told him I'll be on the last meeting. We're back busy again. I've got to put another QC person on board. We simply can't cover everything we got.
But then that goes back to our taxing of our citizens.
Yes, sir.
So lack of planning on the county for not having somebody inspect the road after development, we're paying more taxes.
Well, what happens is when the road falls apart, they come back to the county, if it's in the county, and say, fix it. And then we have to repave it, yeah, the county taxpayers are repaving.
Let me put it like this. Until they opt to take somebody for O&M, it's theirs. Remember I told you the
That's
checklist?
crazy.
But it's theirs.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't fall if you build a house
That's
and
what-
put a septic tank in.
But you remember the
you left
checklist on
this
you know,
case,
there's,
would it
you gotta answer to some sort of official.
So in this case, with being in the town of Fort White,
Real quick,
if nobody watches them build it and build it to the correct standards, if it falls apart in 5 or 10 years,
Well, we don't have.
they're gonna come to the town of Fort White and say,
How are they gonna do that? We don't have a building department or anything like that. That goes to the county.
but the building department doesn't do roads.
What public works?
Again, but it's in the town of Fort White, it's not in the county, just like we don't do it for the city.
So,
So that's what Kevin is saying is, if you contract with.
How
the
did
county, do
that
it
fall
comes
through the
our-
cracks?
We corrected it on our side years ago.
Right, yeah, but
The theory, they do have to provide certain reports, okay? They have to provide what they meet the ERP permit. What we learned years ago, we're gonna have somebody out there looking after our best interest if they want to turn it over to us at some point, and of course they do. Now remember the checklist. We go out there when they call us to take it over. We go with our checklist and we validate everything's up to speed. And if it's not, we say, we're not going to take it until you make these repairs. Well, I'm not going to make repairs, well, call me when you make the repairs.
right.
So, to give you a different type of example, Kevin had to reach an interlocal agreement with the city of Lake City many years ago, because roads went from the county into the city, into the county, vice versa, and nobody knew who maintained what or what gets fixed, because if it's in the city, it's their problem, it's not ours. So we worked out an interlocal agreement where we said, these are the county roads that we'll maintain, these are the city roads that the city will maintain.
Good
So
example.
unless you have that agreement with the county, we can't come into your jurisdiction and maintain the roads.
Yeah.
real quick, to piggyback onto that, Lindsay, we're using the roads as part of the drainage structures, roadside swales, they're all integrated. If we don't build a road to what we've got on the plans, our drainage isn't gonna work. We have to provide an as-built survey to the Water Management District upon conclusion of construction. What happens if the Water Management District gets that as-built survey and they realize it's not built to the standards? What are the ramifications for the builder if those roads and drainage structures aren't built correctly? I'm not trying to be too blanket statement here.
Just ignore it. Just ignore it.
Sounds like you need to hire a private engineering firm as a consultant to come in and review everything you do, and they'll certify it as their PE engineer, and it's done properly to the county roads.
What
That's
was the
leaving
name of
county out
the,
left.
what was the name of the third-party company you guys hired to review these plans?
EDA.
EDA Consultants out of Gainesville
Yeah.
already reviewed these plans,
Okay.
sent them back and approved them. So, but that's what I was getting at is, if these plans aren't built to specifications, the Water Management District is gonna come after whoever built them, and you're either gonna fix the deficiencies or pay a fine or both. So, on that end, as far as they're concerned, the Water Management District is gonna make you build this, because we're using the roads and the roadside swales to send our stormwater where we need it to.
So if the engineer certifies that he's responsible, then if it's not right, they can sue the engineering firm.
Exactly.
Okay.
The engineering firm, the contractor, that's what single set of plans does.
Just as a point of interest, in Hillcrest County, you gotta go to the attorney here, and I believe Alachua County, they don't accept the roads. They may agree to accept the roads until 2 years after they're in use to make sure that they're up to snuff. Now, Columbia County has never done that, But those roads gotta be in operation for 2 years in Gilchrist County and Alachua, as far as I know, and other places.
Citrus County, they bored, right, bored into the road, right in the middle of the road.
Before the roads are even accepted,
Needs
not,
code.
one second, not while they're building a subdivision.
Yeah.
We don't accept.
I don't, well, take a look at North Woodbury, you accepted the roads. So that's what you've done.
But, so moving on. My job is to design this subdivision, get it permitted, keep both parties happy, the regulatory agencies and the builder, and get this thing to construction and make sure it's done right. I need from the board a list of what you all need from me to get this thing permitted. And what would also help me immensely is whatever you want to see done or whatever questions you have, if you could put the land development regulation that would accompany that. Because, like I said, I play by y'all's rules. Whatever the town of Fort White has in the land development regulations, I look that up, I check it, it's like, okay, this is what Fort White has me build to, this is what I'm going to design to. So, whatever concerns y'all have, give it to Connie get it to me, and try to put land development regulation next to that so I know what parameters I have to design. So, that is all I got for y'all. I mean, do you guys have anything else for me, as exhausting as this has all been?
Y'all don't have any questions, Bill, Mary? Nothing.
I'm good with it.
You're good with the whole subdivision?
As long as he gets that road study, it's good.
Thank you.
I think I covered, but whenever, all my notes, I get, the board needs to decide, because we can't vote, but before we come back into a meeting on, well, next month, yeah, we need to know what direction we're going with the county.
How long did they say the traffic study would take?
He did.
He did.
I have to provide more details because we were only planning on doing the traffic study on County Road 18. I wasn't going to on 27 as well.
So they may not have the traffic study back by the next meeting.
I don't have it done.
Yeah, it'll be in our best interest to have everything
They'll have
done. If y'all can get me the materials you need to get this thing permitted, it's already priority number one. I mean, we started this process back in September, so I'm definitely wanting to move things along.
So where do we need to be with the interlocal? Before, during, after? I mean,
Well, I would
to
say-
make this process go further?
I would say if the town is interested in proceeding with an interlocal, we get the two attorneys together and they can draft it.
Are we missing anything?
I understand this a lot better now after this. So,
Well, like I said, you know,
Does it
we
make
wanted
more
to
sense?
just
yes,
Does it? Okay.
yes.
voice those concerns for the citizens. Can public go?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm new into town, I live at News Putney River, but since I've been clearing this lot that I bought over there, I really see there's so much traffic, there's so many trucks all the time, and it's just really, and I liked what the press, I don't know your name, said about building the roads and having things in place, but the other thing that I noticed is during that traffic thing, that study that he presented, I may have heard it wrong, and this is my second time at a city council meeting, so I may not have heard it right, but he was seeming like he was saying one car per family. And most people have two, sometimes campers, sometimes they have teenagers that have a car. So that would be 3 cars. And the other thing that maybe I heard it wrong, when he talked about, when you brought up about the flood zoning, he said they've been using the old maps. And he said if we started using the new maps, the thing would fall apart. So that's what I heard. So it seems like you use the new maps. But
You wanna
I mean,
read-
I'm just a listener. And I just wanted to comment on what I heard.
The study on the vehicles is 10 trips per household per day. Not one vehicle. 10 trips per household. Yeah. I think that's I mean, I don't make 10 trips out of my house a day.
Well, since I've been doing this, I make about.
I understand that,
And
but on a daily basis.
And I think what he said about the new maps, they haven't been approved yet. They're pushing against them because they're saying that Fort White is not in a flood zone. And if they do approve the new maps, the question I asked the gentleman was, would the work you've done so far, would anything change? And he said no. It would still be, it wouldn't fall apart. It would be the same engineering.
Fall apart is not
No, ma'am.
In the beginning, you said it was, you would have to go back.
We would have to provide what's called compensating storage. Whatever we put in the flood zone, we have to provide that same amount of storage for it. We can utilize those existing ponds for that. That's just a whole other step that we have to go back, modify the plans, prove to the Water Management District that we provide this storage. That's unnecessary work that if these flood maps do get approved, is going to have to happen. And I mean, this is blanket. Everybody's going to be impacted by this pretty heavily.
If they get, how far are they out on these maps?
I'd say a year or so, and they're still, there's a lot of haggling going on.
Have you heard about them, Lindsay? The maps? Okay.
Oh, yeah. The new maps.
Yeah, the new maps, new flood maps, okay, I know you're there, so.
Yeah. But they are still in the
Staging period.
staging period. There's not been any kind of finalization of those. They're having hearings on it. And I would say that every county around has the same issue. There's new
So,
flood zones.
let me address it. So, and I understood you to say that no, you would not have to change anything. Did I hear you wrong?
We would have to provide compensating storage. We can use the existing ponds out there, but then that would be roughly 3 or 4 extra plan sheets stuck in there. Start the permitting process with Swanee River Water Management all over again and reset that clock. It's just a lot of extra work that we can do it. We do it on tons of jobs that actually are in flood zones. It's just, this one's not in a flood zone. The geotechnical engineering report we got shows the soil out there is fantastic. It drains well, it can hold water, it's never going to flood out there. So we've got the LiDAR to back it up, the engineering report to back it up. It's a great location, a lot of good soil.
So what you're saying is the retention ponds you have in place would accommodate if it does come back in a flood zone?
Correct.
And you're just gonna have to do some clerical work behind the scenes to
Clerical work and
Prove it.
additional design, yes.
Let me, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, but we're supposed to take your word over it versus Swanee Water Management. Because Swanee Water Management is saying that it is in the flood zone, but you're saying that it's not in the flood zone.
Right now it's not, based on the maps that are in use.
I understand that, but I've got my hands on the new maps that's out there, and they're saying that it is in a flood zone. So,
We're pushing back on it.
Right.
As a company, and we've got multiple other people pushing back on those same flood zone maps. They just took it and applied it across the bulk of the state, and I mean, they're basically putting everybody in a flood zone. It's not a fair way to do it, what they're doing, so that's why we're pushing back.
and you might be totally correct. I don't know what a flood zone is. I know what a flood zone is. What I'm saying, I don't know the new maps, what they project and why they're saying that it's in a flood zone. So,
It's just an easier way for them to kind of cover themselves. So if they just blanket everything, then a whole lot of flood zones makes it a lot easier for them. And FEMA is going to base their flood insurance off this, or excuse me, insurance company.
Flood insurance, exactly.
So
Excuse me, in 2004, County Road 18 was flooded for 3 months,
which part of it?
right in front of my property.
Is your property near our subdivision anywhere?
Yes, sir, it is. It's a mile away. And for 3 months.
Our ponds are sized to handle all of that.
Furthermore, I have one other comment. You made the comment that in your study, there's no pedestrian traffic on 18. We have a bike path on 18.
There's a lot of pedestrians.
And there's a lot of pedestrian traffic on 18.
Four-wheelers, golf carts, bikes, walkers, yes, there is.
The traffic study's going to cover all that.
When I walked in, I did hear you quote 109 cars, 54 each road. That does sound like you were stating 1 car per house. Have you talked to the people on Paisley Court and asked them if they're okay with 54 cars coming up and down their narrow road?
No, it's not 54 cars. It's 54
Well,
and a
you
half
said that
trips.
half went
Trips.
one
Not
way and
cars.
half went the other, and if each one goes to work every day, that is per day, that is 54 cars a day. How's Paisley Court with less than 10 homes on it gonna feel about 54? Possibly, if there's 3 cars per house, now you get to say 150 cars coming up and down their tiny little narrow thin road. How are they gonna feel about that with their
Wait.
kids outside playing in their front yard?
That's not his,
with
that's not,
dogs?
he's just the engineer, so it's
I
not, yeah, he
understand
don't
that,
go
but
out in the
these are
contact,
questions
yes ma'am.
for the people developing this.
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Is that something
right.
the county would be part of maintaining? Paisley Court Road?
Is it within the town limits?
Yes.
That could be part of the interlocal.
I've never seen so many.
That could be added to the interlocal.
Right, that's something I keep in mind.
Lindsay.
I have a question or two. And I'm sorry, I've never met you, so I don't know your name.
Yes, sir, Kevin.
Okay. The work that you guys are talking about doing, if you were to come in as
Don't sneeze on me.
I understand you're talking about doing a special taxing district for the residents once you sell the lots, et cetera, et cetera. But the QC and the QA that you're gonna do on the front end, as the subdivision is being built out, are you charging the developer for your cost? I mean, how is that handled from a financial standpoint?
So I have multiple members on staff that do the QC/QA for dirt to pave conversion, building resurface on all county infrastructure as we speak. And what we've learned through the years is just cost conscious makes sense. If we go out there and we spend we don't charge anybody anything for it. But if we're gonna ultimately take it over one day, we found it's a cost benefit to ensure it's constructed right the first time. So that cost goes to nobody.
So that's just that is the cost that the county takes on the front end before you start billing the residents of the subdivision to maintain as it goes forward.
We logically assume it's no different if I get ready to go redo County Road 18, right? It's currently the county's ownership. So I want to have QC/QA to ensure it's built properly so I get what I paid for. If at the end of the day, the county's going to be responsible for Twin Farms, at O&M, it only makes sense to me to make sure it's built properly in the forefront. And we absorb those dollars. Yes.
And that's a process that the county has done on other subdivisions in Columbia County.
We've done it on every subdivision, I'm going to guesstimate since around 2000.
It's a long-standing
Yes, sir.
process. And then, do you have any type of estimation as to how many subdivisions that you're currently, for lack of a better term, operating in, like you're talking about operating in wind farms?
You're talking about the QC/QA or the O&M side?
O&M side.
Oh, Lord, sir. Hundreds, if not more.
Not with MSPUs, though, they're just starting the MSPU.
We're just literally, the last 4 or 5 weeks, starting the MSPU process. But the reason we're going to the MSPU process is because we are doing so much O&M on the heels of the tax dollars. I've been studying for years, our larger counties do these MSPUs. So I researched around, I said, it's time for us to do this. And it was very politically not popular at one point. But I guess 6 months ago, I went in front of the board, Rocky, and said, guys, we're at the point we have to do this. We're just getting too big to put this kind of ownership on the taxpayers or folks, just build subdivisions again.
Sure, they're getting a specific benefit.
Right, and we agreed not to go back in time. If you built the subdivision prior to now, it is what it is.
Grandfathered in.
Correct.
Do you have any type of indication of how long it's going to take your board to implement that?
But we're implementing now.
Okay. So Gwynn Farms would be
Yes, sir.
a,
If the county took
I
over,
understand.
yes, sir.
then they would be taxed under this increase.
Yes, sir.
And then these subdivisions that you guys are running on the O&M side, you have been doing them long-term, it's almost like in perpetuity. So you're always acting like an HOA.
So let's go back to
That's
how
what I
we
was
got.
gonna say earlier. It's almost like y'all were setting up an HOA, but you're governing the HOA pretty much. So-
Right, so what happened back in the day? Somebody indicated that somebody waits 2 years to take a subdivision over. So back before the bust of 07, 08, whatever that depression did, the recession.
Yeah.
So subdivisions were going in like going out of style in Columbia County. And we were going in and taking them over. Well, at some point, asphalt's a weird creature. There was all these vacant subdivisions, and asphalt's a flexible concrete. Weight tears it up, traffic doesn't tear it up. So all these vacant subdivisions laid there dormant, and the asphalt become in disrepair because nobody was building it. Well, then they'd go out there and ask the county to take O&M, and we would go out there and spend all kind of tax dollars, bringing it back up to speed. So I was the one that spearheaded it way back then. Connie, I think you was with me. I spearheaded with that board at that time. I said, guys, we need to come up with 50% rule. Don't even come to us until you have 50% build out to take over O&M. And when you do, I think you and I build it together, we build a checklist. Let's validate the pavement, let's validate all the signs, let's validate the reflectivity of paint, all that good stuff. And Homer, if you don't bring this up to speed, don't ask me to take it, right? So yes, this has been going on forever, but we keep improving. Now, recently, we got handed over a unique situation. A deceased developer threatened litigation because we didn't take the O&M of a particular subdivision. Basically laid there dormant, things happened, things were wrong with it. The board at that time, as you well know, used the term avoidance, so we don't want litigation, so we'll take it. That's the only one I can recall in the recent history that I did not go out, when I say I, my staff, did not go out and validate that everything was just right. The board wanted to avoid litigation, so they took over. That subdivision is very problematic, which prompted this new index I was referring to, which is just a lot more detailed than the checklist we used to use. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, that's all I mentioned about it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question for you, Kevin.
Yes,
If the town council decides to give the county the O&M and the QC, that kind of stuff, does it need to be, the project would need to be designed to the county's LDRs and the county stormwater management plan requirements?
That's a very good question. Yeah, what I did, I thought about that a while ago. What I did not want to ever represent to our partners, that we're in here trying to tell you what to do, that by no means. But I'm very confident that my board, that our attorney has no problem. I've never really studied y'all's LDRs. I don't know which is beefier. I would logically assume ours are. I don't know that. But I think it's a partnership, Connie, that we could take a look at. I guess just in conclusion, I just felt it was a disservice not to offer the board, this board, the option of the way we do it, the lessons we've learned, and the improvements that we've learned from our mistakes.
Well, if you guys are out, your staff's out doing QA and QC, but they're not familiar with the town's requirements, it just stands to reason to me that it would be much easier for y'all to operate off of the county's LDRs.
Absolutely. Now, as
In
far as,
order to get a good product.
as far as the construction process, we follow FDOT.
Right.
We don't have our own guidelines.
I'm talking about the stormwater management plan.
Understood. Yeah, and I think it would be much easier, but I don't want to act like we're saying bull and China closes down here this morning or this evening. But I'm not taught my board. I just cannot imagine everything we've got going on together. Anybody on our board side would have a problem with us taking one more subdivision, and I might be telling you wrong when I say hundreds, it might be over 1,000 subdivisions. It's a slew of them. I just cannot imagine on our side anybody, and you ask, well, what's the county's benefit? They're our taxpayers. They're Columbia County's. Okay. Thank y'all.
Any more questions? I'm not gonna look at y'all down there.
I do have one more question. Rocky, you indicated you didn't have deed restrictions, is that right?
Yes.
If there's no HOA in place, who's going to enforce the deed restrictions? We do.
The owners of the subdivision, whenever they buy a lot, those deed restrictions will be on those lots. And we'll make sure that the deed restrictions are followed.
But what happens if they're not? Like, say for instance, there's
That's
a
civil, we'll take it
requirement.
to civil court.
Huh?
It'll be a civil court case.
So code enforcement would not
No.
have anything to do with that?
No, the county does not enforce
Deed restrictions,
Right.
correct.
It'd be a
So it would be
civil-
up to the homeowners to get together and form a band?
Or us as developers. Or developer.
And deed restrictions are strictly.
Pardon me?
Can I say something about these restrictions? Can I say something about these restrictions?
Just stand up and state your name, sir, please.
My name's Arthur Cornett. I lived here, well, off and on 3 rivers for the last almost 30 years. And what you're proposing is prejudice when you say the owners of the place, because California, where I lived at, where I grew up, was some of the strictest laws in the world. When you start busing people or encoding things around other people, you become more or less like judge, jury, and executioner. That's not right to you.
Mr. Offer, would you address the board, please? And
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Please.
It becomes predatorial, and in fact, I've experienced it myself here in this town. I can quote something which I already discussed with the police department. I kept my mouth shut for 24 years. It cost me $5 million in civil suits for tampering, influence penalty, all the way down south when I moved away, to get away from it. But it still followed me. Came back here, everything in my house was stolen. Nobody did a thing for me. Nobody even looked for it. Matter of fact, I got scoffed at. I got trespassed and everything else. And you know what I did in kind? As an old philosopher said, be kind to your enemy and they'll be kind to you, because they won't believe it, because they're wanting to do something to you. So I called Family Dollar when the first store that ever got put in here, because I was trespassing from this store, that store, and that store out of prejudice, because I wouldn't conform to their ideal ways, because I was experienced from California. You don't want people fighting with each other in a home subdivision. You need independent people to judge fairly, like a judge would when presented. You need somebody with that integrity, not a person with lack of knowledge or anything like that. My own experience says it's not good advice to let other people judge you, because you don't know who they are, what they're capable of doing. But when you got somebody with integrity up there, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your integrity, just don't put yourself in the place to be judged. Don't cast the first stone, especially with your own family, with your neighbors, because you become an enemy. I became an enemy, and I don't even know why. Because my neighbor didn't like it. She wanted the whole block to herself. She went around, blah, 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 blah. And she gave me advice not to do something, which the police department should have judged and done. But for 24 years, it's cost me $5 million, a civil lawsuit. I've had multiple surgeries, witness tampered, and everything else. So no, I don't advise anybody to be your judge from your neighbors, because you don't know your neighbors. You just know what they're saying. And furthermore, I don't think you need to judge your neighbors. Let somebody independently with a fair mindedness, and you can interview the person to do that. And I think it would be in everybody's interest, because I'm living proof. I almost lost my life now because my neighbors were judging me, and nobody can enforce the stuff.
Just for the record, board, I wouldn't be judging anyone. I would be.
Yeah.
It would go before
I
a
think what
judge.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there's a point here, Mr. Officer.
My point is, you don't want to judge your neighbors unless you want to be judged too.
Right.
There's no fair civil process. for
Yes, sir.
that.
We're gonna make sure we do right by the people. Yes, sir. I appreciate your concern.
Just have somebody else judge you,
Yes, sir.
just like you would a judge.
Yes, sir.
It's the only thing you can really be fair here is to.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Officer. Thank you, sir.
God bless today. The bar's open. God bless him.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, okay? Yes, sir.
I just have one more thing to say. I live at this company, and there are deed restrictions, but for people who don't always know what the restrictions are, I had someone there that, they said, do you mind if we do that? I didn't know there was a law, but, you know, I'm just saying, they're really not enforced, they're not really followed a lot of times, it's very.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that needs to
Yes,
go
ma'am.
to the, you know, make them phone calls, you know, they don't know unless they're aware, you
I
know.
just don't,
I agree, I get it.
I just don't know how much it would be.
Because deed restrictions is usually recorded, so you can go to the courthouse and usually pull
But
up
we
deed
do have
restrictions,
deed
so.
restrictions.
Well, you do, yes, ma'am.
They don't always abide by them.
No.
Well, you gotta call and report people when they don't, so yes, ma'am.
Well, I don't
Yes,
know.
sir.
Dickie King, this is just for y'all. Has anybody studied what size farmland is going to be going out there for, 6, 8, 10, or 12? And if y'all are looking for an expansion of the area with subdivisions, grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, has anybody looked into, do y'all have a fire pump capable of supplying the pressure that you need at these fire plug places?
Right.
Has anybody looked into that? Do y'all know what side y'all gonna run?
You wanna address that?
The other thing is the fire main water gonna be tied in with the domestic water? And if so, the backflow preventions keep it from getting contaminated. Has anybody looked into that?
Yep, it's in the plans, 8-inch water main around the entire development. You can't put anything smaller than 8-inch to go to a fire hydrant. Each house will have a meter and a reduced pressure backflow preventer on the water main to prevent any feedback from it. And prior to any of this getting signed off, to secure a DEP water main extension
Thank you,
permit, Town of Fort White Utilities has to sign off on it first. They sign off on it. I then send it to DEP. DEP reviews it, and we've already got that permit in hand.
May I answer your question, Steve? All right.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
How long is it gonna take for the sewage to get?
That's a ways. That's in the first stages. That's a little ways. Yes, ma'am. It's in the first stage process. They're still engineering, and that's a ways out.
We'll have a follow-up meeting soon.
What needs to be done in the development, who will handle the cost of that?
That's going to be done through grants, and it'll be done through grants. When it's that time, you'll have an option to hook up. If you don't hook up, then you're kind of on your own, and when you decide to hook up, that's on you.
Even for the new development, who's not putting the lines in now, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yep.
One quick question I got.
Yeah, we're.
Shit, I don't even know how to say it now. Whenever they go, somebody like, if I want to go and buy a lot, somebody build a house there, I want to buy it. Will the owner be explained that they're in a flood zone and that their insurance is going to be calculated as a flood zone if this is passed? Are they going to know that the wells that they dig now and the septic tanks, are they going to know that they're going to be deleted and they're going to have to hook up to the water or pay water, whether you use it or not?
Right.
Are they going to know that they're going to have to supply the sewer line out to the main hookup? Are they, the owners, going to be know about this? Because if they don't, and when that sewer line comes through there, the water line comes through there, they're going to come to y'all.
Right.
And they're going to say, why did this happen?
Oh, yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Well,
Okay,
that'd
right.
be something in the deed, correct?
The way the grants work, any existing homeowner that ties to sewer will be tied in at no cost with the grant. Now, if they refuse to tie in, which one of the things out there, they won't be able, it'll be in the thing that once sewer is available, they will tie in.
They should be in the deed. We gonna write that in the deed restrictions. Okay.
But it is what I'm getting at, anybody else
Right.
in the town or anywhere else, if they do decide not to tie in, at some point, when they do tie in, it will be on them, the spend will be on them.
Right. Okay. So we are going to put that as a deed restriction where they understand that they got to tie into the sewer and the water once they. Okay. All right. All right, board. Anything else?
Ronnie?
Yes, sir.
The health department will require that, they're required that also, because they're anticipating, sewer to be there within 5 years. So, when there's a 5-year span of the sewer available, it's required that they hook up sewer.
Right.
Once anything built in 5 years. So.
I just want to make sure, and I know what Mr. Deacon's saying, and I agree with him, that when a lot gets sold, then people understand fully when they get buy the lot, not coming to us, fussing at
Most
us.
of these lots will be sold with houses on them. I would say probably 100% of them, but you know.
Right.
You don't ever know what happened with the commune, I don't guarantee that, but I would say that 100% of them will be sold with houses on them built already. It'll be sold as a house in a lot.
But you sell 10 lots, if you sell 10 lots off to an investor or whatever, or a builder, and he goes and builds them and he sells them off, he might not tell them people that they're city water.
It'll still be on the septic permit.
I got
When
you.
they get septic tank, it'll be documented.
Okay.
Do you have the deed restrictions done, Rocky?
Yes, I do.
Can we get a copy of them?
Yeah, the water should be,
Okay.
yeah, water should be in. Yeah, because I think, well, the water, you're not doing wells, you're doing city water,
It'll be
right?
city water.
Yeah, they're doing
That-
city water.
The house is there now, it's on a well. Ronnie, the house is there now, it's on a well. But it will be hooked to city water once the city water's running.
Right, okay, gotcha.
And it'll be hooked to sewer once the sewer gets running.
Well, that's the major part, make sure that's clear. That way we're not getting headhunted when that time comes and they're digging up
Like I said, that's
road, you know,
well documented with the health.
for
department.
layman's term.
We won't dig up.
Right, I understand, but people don't understand it's not in construction, you know.
What's up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Ronnie,
Yeah.
I
Yes, sir.
just want to bring something up. It had nothing to do with this, but, you know, they're building onto the school right now.
Yes.
And, I
Yes.
just talked to Fred Gaylord the other day. I think he said he had talked to you all.
I did, I called him about that trucks.
About bringing in all the traffic down Dorr Street
Uh-huh,
when they have a driveway right off of 47.
yes, yes.
And, they're supposed to be trying to reroute that traffic. I mean, Dorr Street's a patch from one end to the other
Right.
right now. Now, it is slated to be resurfaced. Grant has been approved for it, but we don't need it tore up between
Right.
now and then. So you have to rebuild the whole road versus going there and mill it and repave it,
Right.
you know.
He told me it wasn't his trucks. I went, well, I don't know whose trucks got in there and delivered that sand, but it was on the school property and it wasn't our truck.
Well, that sand that was there, they actually dug it out from under.
That's what he said, that's what he told
Well,
me.
they're gonna be hauling a bunch of heavy equipment and.
Gotcha.
I mean, they've already hauled heavy equipment in out of there and all, and portables.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of concrete and all going in there. I
So he's
mean,
gonna try to move it around the back, okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, we don't need that traffic on Dorr Street.
Right, no, it's already a bad, that's Travis's road, so it's already all
It's
potholes
a
it
mess.
is. We're trying to get it paved now, so it's in the works.
We're good, that's good news.
All right, board, any more questions for you? I mean, 'cause I don't wanna get back to the next meeting and questions start popping up. Lord, as long as the traffic count comes back good, I mean, is there anything else y'all can think of that we need to cover?
Travis, you started asking a question while I don't think you ever finished about how we get going with the interlocal. About them handling that road.
About
I mean,
handling the roads and stuff, that'd be a direction with.
I think that's what you was getting to.
Yeah, asking what we need to do to get started.
Well, that'd just be a direction between the attorneys to get together and,
Yeah,
work
that's
out
what
the
it
local,
said.
so.
Mr. Mayor, though you cannot take a vote, it's a workshop.
Right.
If I understand it's the general consensus of this council to go in that direction, we can go ahead and get that process started with the attorneys.
Right.
Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
No, it's questions. Yeah. Because what Bill was saying was, when does that need to be formed? Before the approval of the subdivision, during the construction phase, or after? You know, I want to know our timeline.
The only reason on our side of things before the construction begins, so I know I can have my QA/QC staff look at that.
Sure.
Right.
As far as the actual approval of the subdivision, I don't know where that weighs into it one way or another. The approval of your subdivision, I think is what I've heard tonight, you want to make sure your traffic study comes back good.
Right.
And then I saw urban incidentals, but as far as the interlocal we're referring to, I don't think that's relevant to the approval of your subdivision. We're simply talking about the O and M of it.
Right.
The ownership maintenance. The only thing that weighs in there to answer your question, if this council is leaning towards the boards of county commissioners being the O and M, I would like to have my QAQC people out there when it starts, therefore the interlocal would need to be created prior to construction.
Now, is there no conflict with county commissioners and subdivisions, things like that, just to clear the air for everybody?
What we're referring to, as your attorney indicated, this is a standard process. I'll say what I said again. If this was in Edelsville, Mason City, Columbia City, off of 47, off of Tuscaloosa, we just do this anyway.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it. The difference is, this is Hilltop.
Right.
I would request you just direct Connie to work with us on setting up a time with scheduling for the two attorneys sooner rather than later, only because once it's drawn up, that gives you more time to consider it, and you don't have to feel rushed.
Right. Well, yeah.
And in terms of doing an assessment, there's a certain time frame every year it has to be done. So you're probably not going to assess this next year anyway, but at least you have the process in place.
Well, I kind of like what was brought up before about the whole 2-year kind of deal, making sure everything was built right, whatever. We got more to discuss, but that's what I needed to know. I think that answered my question.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions, guys? Ms. Connie, you got anything? Mr. Lindsay, anything? Nothing? Good? Okay.
Make a
All right,
motion to
well,
adjourn?
we need a motion to adjourn, and we'll try to, I guess, give everybody time enough to think about it. And we'll try to have an answer of what direction. Guys, I guess for the board, before we adjourn, is let's not come back here and start debating again on the next meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Let's kind of have in our mind what we're gonna do when we get to the next meeting, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, what was that we went on? What was that we went on about?
Oh, God, I don't know, it took forever though.
All right, I make a motion.
I will say, I gave you all a packet on the subdivisions. If you read that, it may answer some of the questions that you have and some of the requirements that the town can require that.
Okay. Yeah, no, everybody needs
Through
to.
that, it'll tell you.
Connie, you kind of was up there for a little while. You know their LDR kind of, and versus our LDR, is theirs more strenuous than ours?
Yes,
It is?
yes.
Let's go hard.
When it comes to stormwater management.
Oh, all right, let's go. You ready?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, good. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Good deal. Let's roll it, buddy. Let's roll it.